Hey, David T.S. Wood here, and welcome to My Extra Mile. My show today is with this incredible lady. She had a very successful corporate career, highly paid, highly sought after, and she never ever thought she would cross over into the home-based business realm. And she did. And what's great about her story is in her corporate career, her companies service network marketing companies and analyze their compensation plans. And she was able to see behind the curtain and understand what truly makes the most extraordinary compensation plan so that the average person can succeed at the highest level. So enjoy this show. It's an incredible story of passion, of love, of contribution, and understanding. Enjoy the show with the incredible Jessica Regner, and please don't forget to subscribe, push likes, and of course, get involved with the conversation. We'll definitely see you on the other side. Jessica, I am uber excited, so excited. You and I have spent a little bit of time together over the last couple of months, and it's always so refreshing. I want to sort of take you back a little bit because you kind of come from the corporate world, and just take us back to life before your current. You followed a path down a side hustle, which you've turned into like a phenomenal, full-time, passionate, heart-driven business. But before that, you were following sort of a conventional path. Sort of, how did you sort of get into the corporate world? Take us there first.
Sure, absolutely. So I really fell into an amazing opportunity in corporate America. I was an early employee in a company that sold, and we sold it to Citibank. I was only 29 years old, but what was wonderful is that I was running an amazing sales team, and I was calling on companies. My whole team represented and was calling on network marketing companies. Lots of industries that rolled up to me, but network marketing was one that I loved so much. And so I really had such a fascinating perspective on the industry of network marketing. Loved the industry, loved the people, watched it, and in a million years, never thought I'd be on this side of network marketing. After I left Citibank, after our commitment, we started another company. I joined a company that was social media technology. And social media technology, I think I tell people, if you're going to if you have a resume of a network marketer, I had a really good background to know how to do it. But again, still never thought that I'd ever get involved in anything besides corporate America. I really remember thinking all these great years, these really successful, just such blessed years. And I just remember thinking there will be many, many more years of doing just this ahead of me. I was chairman's preferred on US Air when US Air was still in business. I flew all the time. I traveled. I live in Philadelphia. I traveled between Philadelphia and New York so often. And I was balancing that along with being a mom to 3 little kids. On my oldest daughter's second birthday, we brought boy-girl twins home from the hospital.
Wow.
And so lots of moving parts in our lives, but just remember thinking, this is our reality for the future. We built a life that required 2 incomes. And I just thought, this is the life we've designed for ourselves. The working mom, spinning tons of plates, not necessarily doing anything well. Hot mess express, coming in on 2 wheels, watching some things on FaceTime that I wished I wouldn't have had to, but that was really my life before.
So just take me back though for this piece of the puzzle where, you're working with a bank and you're analyzing network marketing companies, because was that because the bank specialized in that particular arena, or what was the reason that you was?
The company that sold was an electronic payments company. So we were helping network marketing companies pay people in the field. And so, most companies, the huge companies aren't paying checks out of their corporate offices. They're sending a file to a large bank. And at the time, Citi was really the bank of record for many of those companies and was issuing prepaid cards, checks, direct deposit for so many of them. And so my team was really going in and helping companies to streamline processes.
So you actually had to analyze the compensation plan to understand them so that you could pay them out. I mean, there was a lot of learning that you went through. Is that right?
Our unique selling proposition was that we would know your compensation plan as well as you did. And so we'd go in and we'd present as if it was a distributor or a person in the field receiving the payment. And if I'd go back and look at these presentations, it would show, here's Jen. Jen is this age and she's earning this much money and she's paid weekly or monthly. And so I became sort of a de facto compensation plan expert for the industry. And I would have some friends that were involved in the industry and I'd say, here's what you're missing about this comp plan. Here's money you're leaving on the table. Do this, this, and this. And I think you can really grow, because that was my job.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the oldest network marketers I know, who's so beautiful, Jimmy Smith. I mean, he's 90, almost 92 now. You know, he always says, you know, the most important thing about becoming a professional network marketer is knowing the numbers and knowing, you know, exactly how the comp plan works. And when you do, you know how to build it correctly. So here you are analyzing all these different comp plans. Can I ask you, I mean, I've never asked you these questions, so I'm fascinated from my own personal sort of, you know, understanding. I mean, is there a big disparity between good comp plans and crappy ones?
Wild. There's an unbelievable disparity in what's the ceiling on what people can make? How are they rewarded for people that they're mentoring, people that are growing under them? In a lot of comp plans, there is some ceiling of disincentive. There is a lot of things that change with, are you able to retain volume? How many generations are you paid down? And so I knew all of those things for these plans. And I would say to friends, like, that's a tough comp plan to make a lot of money. Really, it's not an easy one. Most people do not, because the other thing that I had access to was a lot of the dispersion data. So how much were people making? Because companies would send that information to us so a lot of companies would say, hey, we'd love you to pay our people before we pay you. Well, I need to be able to assess what's the risk that we would take on. So in knowing that, you get to see what is the range and the dispersion and the mean amounts of payments. So I could say to friends, the mean person really isn't making a ton of money, and most people aren't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is that part-time aspect, but there's also that other part where you see people who've sort of been in a position of leadership, let's say, for a long time, and they're still not really making the money because the compensation plan has things called breakaways, or there's things where, like you say, these disincentives built in. Was there a time early on when you were in the bank watching all this, watching how much money people make? Was it like, I love the industry because, or was there already that kind of thing going on in the back of your mind thinking, you know, I should be thinking about this because they're making so much more money than I am what was going on for you?
Okay, so I will tell you that I used to actually even go to different companies' conventions. And I'd go on stage and say, hey, we're going to be changing the way you're paid, and this is how it is. So I saw behind the scenes of many companies. And I will tell you that people on my team at the bank used to tease me and say, you are so going to leave. That industry is your favorite, and you're going to go and, you know, you're going to sell a product that makes water wetter. That was the joke that they would always say to me, because I would come back and I would say, guys, we're doing it wrong. These people have it figured out. They're the most positive, just magnetic, dynamic people, and they're fabulous, and they have it figured out, and people are selling car dealerships, and they're living these lives of their dreams. And they would always tease me and say that you're totally going to do that. But frankly, there was this identity gap where I looked at it with complete appreciation. I knew people were having so much success. I didn't see myself there.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, but you're a mother of now 3 children, right? Twins, for goodness sake. I mean, I'm a parent of 2, and I always say if they outnumber your hands, you know, you're in a crazy land. But I love this idea that you're sort of falling in love with the positive energy, really, and you're watching people create these sort of lifestyles, or, you know, being able to design their lives. What was the moment when you started to really, because you started working the company you're with right now, you were actually analyzing the compensation plan from a corporate desk. You know, you weren't part of them. Is that right?
They were a client of ours, actually. So I knew the behind the curtain of the company that I'm with now. And I will tell you that, they had an expression at the time that they said, if it's not right for the field, it's not right for the company. And I tell people now, I felt that as a vendor who wanted to charge fees or wanted to do things that were good for the vendor. I saw from the company this resistance that it wasn't good for the field. And so that isn't just a tagline. That isn't just lip service to make the field feel like
You just gave me goosebumps, because there's this thing about integrity that is tested behind closed doors. When no one else is watching, and you've got this unique perspective of being there, offering the company a way to make more money, possibly, I'm guessing, right? And they're saying, hold on a sec, if this isn't good for our field, this isn't good for us. And that's sort of written down in their values, and you're now seeing it play out in real time. That must have been a real aha moment about the integrity of the owners of the company. Is that right?
There were so many moments where I felt that from them. I mean, we had so many clients, but I will say it stood out to me because that didn't exist in the same way in other companies that we called on. And so it really actually surprised me when I saw it from them and thought, really? And they said, we'll take it. We'll take it on our side. We'll incur that fee. And we don't want our field to bear the brunt of that. And it was the first time that I had seen it from the company, but it was not the last. I went on to be on the field advisory board, and I have watched them make decisions that have proven that mettle, that just commitment beyond what I think is even reasonable. I remember thinking something else and thinking like, that makes no sense financially, but they believe it's for the field.
Well, I think that, again, I'm a business guy, and you've had a corporate background in business. There's a moment where you make decisions because the bottom line dictates those decisions. And I have seen the same thing with the company you're talking about, is where, it's not always about the bottom line. It's about the future. It's about the long game. If we quote Simon Sinek, if we talk about the long game, these people have a long game mentality, which means that the bottom line is, of course, critically important, because you can't succeed unless the bottom line's there. But some decisions are made not because of the bottom line, which a lot of corporations, and I'm sure, in fact, let's talk about your corporation a second that you came from. I'm guessing that there was a focus and an emphasis on the bottom line, right?
Massive focus. Absolutely. Everything was about numbers. Everything came down to, is this a smart business decision? Not, is this good for our employees or clients? It is, does this make financial sense at the bottom line?
Yeah.
So,
that's that people first mindset, right?
No, it wasn't a people first mindset. And none of the companies that I worked at can I say that it was people first. I mean, I worked for very young companies, very new companies that, yes, we have a camaraderie, but ultimately we have to pay the bills and the light bill needs to be paid. So we make decisions based on numbers. And in this company, I've seen them make decisions based on people and families.
I love it. And again, because you were behind the curtain, right? You saw the Wizard of Oz and he was real. He wasn't, right? There was no one pulling strings. It was a real wizard, right? Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll come up in a second, but I want you to talk about this. If we were analyzing compensation plan, because there's a lot of change going on in the world right now. And if you're listening to this, it is during COVID. I want it to be timeless. So it doesn't matter when you're listening to it. But your experience on the different compensation plans, if you could give me, a few good reasons why you feel the compensation plan of the company you're with is one of the best or the best. I don't know if I'm not trying to put words into your mouth, is one of the best or the best. And what makes it that way? What is it from your analysis and from all the work you did analyzing all these plans, what comes up for you?
So I will tell you, and that I did take what looked to most people, a massive risk to walk away. I had an unbelievable corporate position, super successful, and an equity stake in a company that looked like the writing was on the wall for it to be acquired by a massive internet social media technology company. And so this was a huge risk, but I knew there was no other plan that I would have felt comfortable with. And there's a couple things I tell people all the time. Number one, it's binary. So it's only 2 teams. And so the only people who ever disparage a binary are people who aren't in one, because building 2 teams is way better than building tons of teams. You mentioned Jimmy Smith, a legend in the industry, a brilliant person, understands comp plans like almost no one else. And I laugh. Jimmy lives 30 minutes from me, and we laugh and say, toddlers, yoga pants, and numbers don't lie. And so what we always talk about.
Wait. Let me just get the yoga pants. I had to think about for about a split second before I started. Go, carry on.
Absolutes. And so what we just talk about is building. Jimmy will say this expression, and I've heard it lots of times in comp plans, is he would say, you build wide for show and deep for dough. Many teams across is very difficult to maintain. In the binary that I'm in, number one, you only build 2 teams, and one of those teams is built with other people in your upline and your downline. There is 0 generational cutoff. What that means is we are paid infinitely deep. No matter if you come in on my 50th level, I'm paid on you as if I personally enrolled you. The volume is exactly the same. There is no declination of volume, which is huge for a lot of people. When you're building a mature, incredibly accelerating business, your best people often come in below the cutoff line in some of these companies. I have some of the best people on my 8th, 9th, and 10th level right now. Imagine in many companies, those great people are ignored because some of their leaders don't get paid $1. In our company, I don't care where you are, I will grab you because every drop of volume rolls up to me exactly the same. The other piece, when you're talking about volume of what people are purchasing, is it never flushes. So many companies, we live in Philadelphia, but we live at the Jersey Shore in the summer, right on the beach. And so I ask people that are in companies that flush, I say, come down, my husband's away, come down, bring your kids, hang out with us for the week. And they say, are you crazy? The month is about to end and I've got to make my numbers. Not a thing I recognize, because our volume is ours forever as long as we're active. It never flushes. It continues to accumulate from my personal team, but also every person who's ever come on who's part of our organization forever and ever.
And so someone who may be listening who doesn't understand flushing, who's maybe looking for, a side hustle or looking for a career change, because again, there's a lot of change going on in the world right now. The flush means that we're in a lot of compensation plans at a certain point, all the volume that's not sort of allocated then flushes. And what actually does, it goes back to the company, right? And the company gets to keep it all, where, the only requirement for your compensation plan is remaining active, which is a minimum purchase every month, will maintain all of the volume that's there, and it will wait for you to catch up. So it will sit there like a bank. And when you're able to create the match, we call it, so then that will pay out, but it's never going to go anywhere as long as you do that minimum requirement. That's a huge thing, right?
And you have so much incentive in this team, in this company, that you want other people to flourish. And we were talking about breakaway. In this company, everyone who comes on board, I want you to be at least as successful as me. And if you pass me, no one will cheer louder, because I get paid on all of your volume. We want you to be successful. We get a match on what they're earning. So of course, we also teach people, here's how to maximize your payout. Here are a couple simple things that you can do to really be paid the optimal amount of money. And so I think a lot of people don't understand that. And that's one of the things that our team has done. So David, if you came to me when I was at Citibank and said, hey, I want to get a job, I would have never interviewed someone and not told them, this is an expected compensation. This is how much do you want to make? Is this in line with what you're looking for? This is an expected compensation. And this is what you need to do in order to earn that. And the industry, we all are aware, if anyone that knows the industry knows, that there are stigmas exist. And I say to people that sadly, some of the stigmas the industry has earned, because we have bad actors that come out and say, come and make great money with me. You can do it. Come friend that's dying to get out of their job or dying to pay this bill and wants a way to do it. And then they come on board because they trust you, but the person has no idea how to tell them how to earn the kind of money that they need to. And we've sort of said, if we're going to eradicate those stigmas, if we're going to get people to see what this industry could be, you need to show them, here's how you can make money. And what I do is my twins are now 12 years old. And so I tell them, here's what I'm going to teach people. Can you repeat this back to me? Teach it back to me. And I tell people, my 12-year-olds, and I think I told you the story that my daughter just finished, the twins, a boy and a girl, the girl just finished 5th grade, and her teacher called me and said, Quinn was just telling me about what you're involved in. And she just explained to me how I could be at the top rank in your company. And I think she said, this is what I need to do to make 6 figures in your business. I'm pretty much in. And I'm like, well, great. If a 12-year-old can explain it, that's the way it should be. It's just math.
Yeah, you know what though, what you said there, I mean, really why I love this profession so much is, the fact that it is, if it's done well, A, it's supremely duplicatable. And B, if you can learn something, anything in our profession, if it's taught properly, then the ability to teach it immediately should be there. It should be like immediate, right? And so, and that's why I have a lot of kids come to my events, and I watch the kids just soak it up and be able to be able to deliver like your 12-year-old, which is incredible. All right, let's have a look at something here. So talk to the person right now. Here you are, you did have a great job. You had, 3 great reasons not to jump. You had the incentive, you had the pathway, you had the potential as far as being bought out, which means that there could have been an incredible payday. I should say that now there's more than 3. You have now 5 children in your home, right? And a dog, I just heard, right? So, you're a busy person, but go back to the moment you made this decision. What was the foundation of the decision? What was some of the fears, or were there any? And how did you take that step? What was your mindset coming in? Because I haven't asked you how much money you've earned, but you do extremely well. So I'll ask that in a minute, maybe.
Yeah. So what I'll say is that when I started using the products, it was for me. It was for energy and leaning out. And I had watched other people have success. And frankly, complete skepticism that even the products would work. But what I did, it was an accident, but I tell people, do what I did accidentally on purpose. I asked 5 girlfriends if they would try it with me. I said, we'll either get our sexy back or our money back. Let's do this. I told them with certainty we would have a great time and we'd probably get a great result. And if not, we'd get a refund. And my husband and a woman then saw in a report that I had added a few people, again, not for the business, but because I wouldn't quit. I knew that if they did it, I'd be more committed. And a woman saw that and she called me on the phone, just boldly, didn't know me, just saw me in her downline and saw that someone had enrolled a bunch of people on one day. And she was calling to tell me about the business opportunity. And knowing my background, that it made me laugh inside a little bit that she was calling me about the business opportunity.
Yeah, you probably knew better than she did.
I said, that's very, so kind of you that you would think of me. I'm not looking for an opportunity right now. I'm about to sell a company. My husband and I own a bunch of real estate. We've got 3 babies at home. And she said, do you mind if I tell you my story? And honestly, her name's Janie Elo. She's the 96 millionaire in our company. Her husband played in the NBA for 14 seasons. And she told me this unbelievable story about it's a mission business and kingdom building and what she had done and why she decided to do it. And her story was not only the content, but the energy was so arresting and so interesting to me that I thought, what a fabulous woman. What an interesting story. But again, there was still an identity disconnect, or probably a money disconnect, where I thought, okay, I need to make a lot of money to keep this house standing. And I love her story, but there's a gap. And I will tell you that she asked me probably the single greatest question, a question that I ask a lot of people now, is she said, Jessica, how much would it take to make it worth your time? And that is such a powerful question. Wow. Yeah. Because looking to recruit people that have a high money blueprint, a high success blueprint, many of them don't realize the extraordinary potential that exists. And if other people have done it, it's possible. It's certainly not guaranteed, but if other people had done it, and that's what I thought is when she said that, and I told her this number that was bold, and I thought she will laugh and hang up. And instead, with the utmost conviction, she said, let's go. Let's go.
Do you remember the number?
$600,000 a year.
Awesome.
She said, let's go. And honestly, it was at a point in my life, to be honest, that I felt this restlessness because I was on the women's council for the bank, and they would have people call me and say, I'm coming back from maternity leave. Someone said that you'd be great at pep talking me and like getting me back. And I would say like, yes, you need to come back because your baby is going to be sick of looking at you. Let your baby look at someone else. You are going to contribute and be a full, whole person. And I believe that to my core, but deep inside, I knew that no matter what I told you, working from home, super flexible, great income, unbelievable benefits, I knew that my kids were not getting the best part of me. And I didn't see anything in the horizon that would indicate that they were going to get all of me. And so I sort of forgave that and erased that, but it was there. And so when she said, let's go, I just thought, wow, this woman is either, she didn't hear me, she's crazy, or she's serious. And I was never going to be the person.
Did you say the 600,000 because that's the real number, or did you say it to sort of push her away a little bit as well?
No, that was, I needed to earn an income of around $600,000 to walk away. We needed, and especially that had some of the future cost of money, because I knew it looked highly likely that this company was going to be acquired. I mean, it was a brilliant technology. I was busier in that season of life than I've ever been. It was something that every company, every corporate social media department was being formed, and everybody was trying to think of a LinkedIn strategy. And it was a technology that optimized that for companies. It was genius. I didn't develop it, so I can tell you it was so smart. And it just looked like there was something good on the horizon. And so when she had that certainty, and I just think that the certainty behind her just conviction that yes, I could do this. She told me another thing that she said. I sat next to a woman on a plane. She told me a little of her story. She was a spin instructor and a hairdresser, 27 years old, 3 little kids. Yes. She told me a story about Kelly Dickerhoof. And honestly, this is something that we use as we develop systems. Is what was powerful. Powerful was asking a great question, having confidence and certainty when you deliver an answer, and third-party validation. Because when she told me Kelly's story, if it's possible for her, that means it's possible for more people. And so that got my attention. And I will tell you, and she probably to this day says, maybe I was one of the worst people she ever mentored, but thank God, I thank God every day that she stuck with me. Because with that kind of busy schedule, she says that I would be on the phone, tell me what to do. Okay, all right. And she said, I would still be talking and you were like mid hanging up, and that it was just wild to work with me. But we went so super fast. And I tell people,
but you chose fast. I just want to go back on the Kelly and Janie Elo, because Janie and Kelly are both very humble, quiet, and I mean, quite reserved in some ways, but almost shy. Because I mean, when we look at our profession and you see all of the different makeups of humanity, and here's Janie with this absolute certainty and these beautiful stories, but she's not this kind of overt, larger than life. And Kelly, when I first met Kelly was so shy, she wouldn't even speak up in a room. I mean, if I ever put a microphone in her hand, she'd just be like running for the hills. And I believe Kelly is a 7-figure income earner a year now, right? And so, I just want to sort of talk a little bit about that is, in your team and in Janie's team and Kelly's team. I mean, it really is a mix of all humanity, right?
So imagine a woman from the West Coast who, as you say, is so humble, has a slower, reserved way of talking about her. But I will say, here she gets dropped into this East Coast, fast talking, super 100 miles an hour. She is, bar none. I was at Columbia. I worked at Citibank with all the Harvard Business School people. Bar none, the greatest mentor that I've ever had in life. She breathes so much belief into people, and she loves you better. She loved not just me, She loved this wild, like she had to have thought, where in the world did you come from? But she loved my family. When we rank advanced in our company, she would send gifts to my children. She would send my daughter, who was she would write out the comp plan on a whiteboard and felt so invested in our family business that she would send flowers to my oldest daughter, Avery, with a teddy bear attached and say, congratulations, your mom's success is a result of all of your hard work and sacrifice. And honestly, my oldest daughter has become someone that I couldn't be. She started her freshman year in high school today. And I just see this leader, this woman. And people say, you and Doug have done such a great job. Well, we had a lot of help from Janny Elo, because when I look at her DMs and Instagram, even to this day, it's constantly Janny sending her messages, say, Avery, you're amazing. Listen to this podcast. I think you'd really like it. Here's a video series. I think you'll love it. Erica and I think you're fabulous. Erica's her daughter, who's such a great role model. But in this mentorship, our little mentorship, that she knew my business better than I knew it. She helped with my team. She created duplication when I didn't have the time to do it. And we've perpetuated that in Janny's honor. We've helped really busy, already successful people say, we will get in the weeds with you and run right beside you. She did that for me.
That's awesome. So let's go back now to this sort of moment in time where, you know, you've sort of said yes. Now, how long were you, because I mean, you went fast and you just, I think, you know, your personality is all in because you were all in before. Not everyone's like that. A lot of people in this profession come in kind of super part-time and they kind of, you know, have you found, because of your experience and because of the way you coach and because of the influence from Janie, is there more people in your team who see that going fast is actually easier, or is it kind of the same where you get a real cross section of super part-time, you know, medium part-time? What's it kind of looking like in your world right now?
So I think every team has a mix of people with different speeds and beliefs, and they bring things to this company. But what I found is that people tend to surround themselves with people like them. And so I've always either been unsubscribe or block the door because we're going. And so a lot of the people that I've surrounded myself with are those same kind of people. Those first couple women who started with me, they were very similar in that personality. Let's go. We had 6 friends reach the top rank in the company right along beside me all at the same time. So when people look at what we've done, I tell them, number one, take to the perspective that I have a background that accelerated this to some degree. I've been trained to do some of these things. I knew compensation plans, and I had a social media technology, you know, role in a humongous company. So I tell people, consider those things. Consider that I've built the way that I would build a company from scratch. I built this to look, when people say, wow, what you're doing doesn't look a lot like network marketing, it's the most flattering thing someone can tell me. It looks like a traditional business.
Right.
Because I want to show you that. So to answer your question, I would say to you that there are definitely large pockets of my team where you see these people that go, get out of the way. And those people tend to have people that want to go. What I've also found, though, is that there's seasons in life. I have a great friend who returned all of her products. They're like, no. And actually, she was like, not even loving the products. No way. Well, the season changed for her, and it became so the right time. Then she got the products again, went to the highest rank in our company, had the most unbelievable product result, and tells my husband and I all the time, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to her. Someone who initially returned and then came on, she was unsubscribed basically, and then went into block the door. Yeah. I'm running through it.
And that's such a great story for our profession, is that sort of time of change, time of crossroads. And, you know, and that I love that seasonal approach, and it really is for different seasons. But with you then, as you were looking at I look at one of your superpowers, which is, you know, you now have 5 children. And would you say that, I know that you one of them is can I talk about this? Is okay?
Sure. Yeah. So we have 4 legal children, and then so sometimes we have 2 extra, sometimes we have 2 additional.
Okay, so sometimes six. But so the question is, with the foster parenting, with your previous life being, in the office all the time, the whole idea of fostering probably wasn't on the cards for you, right? Is this one of the blessings of you being able to create this home-based sort of global business that you really do have? I don't even know how you have time for six, but you do, and your whole life and building the team and everything else like that. How do you do it? And was that one of the big sort of deliverables for you, the ability to be able to foster children?
So anyone who knew me at that time or before would probably laughed at the suggestion when they heard it. I'm an only child. I was raised, my parents were a little bit older when they had me. I never babysat. I was always around adults. And when my kids were little, my husband and I had a live-in nanny because of our erratic schedule, especially my travel schedule. So for 6 years, we had a live-in nanny. When I came home from, when I came home because of network marketing, she was able to get a new family and I became this full-time mom. And if you've ever seen any social media of mine, like I think that my brand has accidentally but fairly become this hot mess express. And I hope if people look at my life and say, if she can do it with this kind of wildness and not organized and just making it work, anyone can do it, fostering or network marketing. But I will tell you that fostering has been the greatest blessing of our family, for sure. I went to an event, a network marketing event for our company, and I heard a woman, she stood on stage. She had gone from totally broke, literally destitute, to a millionaire in the company. And she talked about how she adopted a little boy despite all odds. And that from the back seat of her car, after they moved to Celebration, Florida, right outside of Disney, they're Disney citizens. She talked about from the back of her car, a small voice came and said, "Mommy, what took you so long? I was waiting for you forever." And that moved me. There's been some phrases in Isogenics you can hear that there's just things that people have said that just so stuck with me. And that was one that it was like a piercing of my heart. I walked out bawling my eyes out into the hallway, called my husband, who had been married to me for a long time by that point, knew what a hot mess I was. And I said, "Doug, I really feel like I just heard this story from this woman. We need to look into foster parenting." And he said, I love it. Let's do it. We go to these classes and we've had 9 foster placements so far. And frankly, when we got behind the curtain of the foster system, we became these kind of unofficial advocates for we need more families with good intentions. Because I looked around at different things that other foster parents that I kind of met through a training or through something else and just thought, kids that are going to go from one extraordinarily traumatic situation, they need to go to something that is so nurturing and enriching, not potentially this. And so we started talking about it. And this industry gave us a platform to reach so many people. And if I could tell you the messages that I get from people that say, "We just went to our first class because we heard you talking about it," or so many, the ripple effect of the compound effect of how many kids have gotten homes. We adopted our 3.5-year-old, and on the same day at court, there were 3 other children who their families getting adopted, that their families became foster parents because we started talking about it. And so the ripple effect of what this business, people say, "Oh, you're in network marketing," or the worst, they say, because they don't understand, they say MLM. This is not an MLM, but what they'll say is some disparaging comment. And I'll think, if you only knew the amount of lives that have been changed because of some surplus income and some time, you would never say that. You'd say you're in the impact business.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting with that story, and I'm guessing it's the same person. She was not in a position to adopt because of money. They were really, really struggling. And I get goosebumps even thinking about this story, because not only is she being able to, really transform her life financially, but you talk about that same impact you're having in the foster world that she's had in the adoption world, and really sort of really just inspiring and allowing people to fulfill these dreams, these yearnings that they never thought was possible. And she's gone on. I mean, I think both of you, what you're doing in the world in these 2 arenas. And I just want to say, thank you, but really I thank her for talking in front of you and whispering that one little sentence in your ear, "Mommy, why did it take you so long?" I mean, that's just such a beautiful story. And I think, again, if people understood this profession like we do, and I've been around it for many, many decades, you know, the kindest, the most beautiful, caring, loving, generous, compassionate, giving, fun, crazy, you know, adventurous people I know are professional network marketers. And their ability to say yes to things in life, as opposed to, you know, falling back on the default mode of, hey, I can't afford it, or I don't have the time. Because even if you can't afford it at this moment, because there's this ladder in front of you, and there's so much, you know, inspiration and coaching and whatever you kind of can dream about, that money can follow. And that's why I want to go to for a second. Talk about, how long did it take you to sort of get to a point where you were making the kind of money that was actually shocking you a little bit, or, you know, you left this corporate world and here you are. Talk about that little story there, because I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, we went super, when I say super fast, I mean really, really fast. And I think I enrolled 14 people in my really first full month of sharing and 36 in our second. And I tell people, that's not really typical of people. It's possible, not really typical. And the people that we were enrolling, one of the top earners on my team now, she's my neighbor at the beach. And she always says that in the beginning, you said to me, Adrienne, get everyone you love. We are going to the very top of this company. And I had that kind of conviction with people. I said, get everyone you love. We can do this. We can absolutely do this. And so that kind of income soared. It really did. And I remember it was around May. So I ordered the products first in October, started sharing in November, and missed the first. I tell people I missed the first, you know, fast start bonus. I missed it because I wasn't interested in making money with the company. But by May, I remember creating such income that my oldest daughter, Avery, at the time was 6.5. So she was 8 years old, and I was running to catch a train from Philadelphia to New York City, as I did often. And she was walking out of her bedroom at the same time that I was rushing down the hall, trying to put on my shoes to get out the door, and thought I was going to miss my train. And I remember, though, her catching my eye because her jeans were about 4 inches too short. And it was one of those moments that if you're ever a parent and you look at your child as if you're seeing them for the first time, and I just thought, I'm missing it. For what? I'm making this extra income, and what could I do if I bet on myself? What could I do if I did this with more time? And I got on that train that day, and I sent a text message to one of my best friends. She lives in New York City, very successful corporate mom. And I just said, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to leave the company, leave equity on the table. And she said, there is no way that you can walk away to go sell shakes out of your trunk. And I remember saying to her, I drive an SUV. First of all, I don't even have a trunk, but I'm going to go and create a global distribution for products I'm obsessed with. And I'm going to show people how to create massive impact that correlates with income. I'm going to go to the top of this company, and we're going to take so many people along with us. Come join me. Let's go. I'm going to walk away. And I walked away, and I told you, my husband and I started buying investment properties at the Jersey Shore. We have a property that has the most amazing beach view, but we only ever got to use it on the weekends in the summer. And here in Philadelphia, you get about 12 Saturdays that are great, and hopefully it doesn't rain. And so that was all my kids were getting of this great beach life. Well, that summer, so that was the summer of 2014, we lived there. And they spent every day boogie boarding, surfing, having the best. I always say they will never forget that summer. Full-time mom. And we built a business from the beach. I mean, one of my top income earners was my neighbor there. So we would say it was a beach chair office. We would sit there and watch the kids play and just dream. And it felt so good.
Can I ask you, where's your income at now? I mean, I know it's not typical. I understand the hard work, and people can hear that. So, you know, a disclaimer is, you know, whatever you hear on this show, you know, I'm not saying this is a typical thing, but anyone who uses the same approach or wants to go as fast, or anyone who doesn't quit, who has the same amount of conversations and the same conviction, can create and you've helped, that's why you're successful, is you've helped a lot of other people create that success. And I think that's what drives us deep down inside of our hearts. We know that in network marketing, your success is directly linked to the amount of people you can actually help succeed, which is kind of can you imagine in your old job hiring someone who said, listen, you're going to out earn me in 3 years, and you're going to have a higher rank than me. It just doesn't happen anywhere. So talk to me a little bit about your income and what's happening right now, and maybe where you see it going in the next. How long have you been with network marketing now? 2000.
This is my only company in about 6.5 years, approaching 7.
So if you think 7 years future now, knowing what you know, that you've probably become quite good at what you're doing, even though you're still a hot mess, you say. But talk to me a little bit about that.
So you're asking about income. So I told you we went really fast. So it took for us 26 months to earn a cumulative $1 million. And so in our company, you're recognized as a millionaire. In the company, we were millionaire 168. So there's now well over, I think we're over 300, approaching 400.
Yeah, 360, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just say to people, like, here's the number of millionaires. That means that we're 7-figure cumulative earners that we're creating per month. Again, another reason I think this company is so special, but it took 26 months to earn a cumulative $1 million. And so that's amazing, right? And so we have had years of $500,000 and up just for the last, since then, which has just been unbelievable. And we've done some things like we built my husband's position as well. So we have 2 positions in this company that this income will to our children. And so I talk to a lot of people as this wild season in the world, right? This where I'm doing so many calls with families, and they're very smart to be looking at, how do I diversify my income stream so I can build a financial wall so I can protect us, because all the jobs that looked so certain 12 months ago, suddenly uncertainty.
Yeah.
My husband's a high school principal still to this day. He's a high school principal, loves it. And even those jobs have a massive amount of uncertainty and insecurity. And so many families are saying to me, I've watched what you've done. I've watched what your team has done. Is it really possible to create a full-time income from home? On the East Coast especially, so many are facing virtual schooling of their children, and they have no idea. It keeps me up at night thinking of the families that are making these extraordinarily difficult decisions. Their child's education, their income, and how the balance of that could possibly work in this unwinnable situation. And so we're showing them, absolutely, the most unlikely network marketers thrive in this industry when they realize you're building a virtual franchise with unbelievable products. You're essentially setting people up with a wholesale account, just like Costco, to buy Nordstrom quality products with a Nordstrom quality return, literally guaranteed to change their lives. And in this industry, it really is about harnessing influence or garnering influence to create impact and income. And those impact and income are in direct correlation. What industry can you say impact directly equals income? None.
Yeah, that's great. We're sort of at the end of the show here. I'm going to have you back. I'd like to have you back a few times. And I know we're going to get to do some training together soon, which I'm really excited about. But I think about that new person sitting on the couch right now, maybe listening to this. What's the advice that you would like to leave with, and knowing that you will come back? And we've really touched on a couple of things, and I really love the fact that we sort of stayed in one kind of arena, which is, we didn't go to all over the place, because I really love, I'm going to re-listen to this as well, because I think there's so much wisdom and depth in what you've delivered today, and I'm so grateful. But think about that new person, whether it's a woman or a man, and typically it's women that are drawn to this profession. I think it's because of the empathy, and because they can, that feeling of contribution that I think women are drawn to, and connection. But talk to that new person. What's some advice you'd like to leave them with before we end the show?
I think the advice that I would say is look at people that have gone and done it already. And that what that should say to you, it should say with such volume, is if it's possible for them, why not you? It's so possible for you. And there are ways that you can increase the likelihood that it will happen for you. And it really is about aligning yourself with a system. If the people that you're working with have a system, plug into it, see how that feels for you. If it doesn't feel right, modify it, because the business is up to you. Your success depends on you. And truly, I so believe that it's possible for so many more than have ever really even considered the amount of massive success they could achieve.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much. You know, this show's all about my extra mile, the extra mile. It's those small incremental steps. And you could hear that this was a series of incremental steps. And, you know, when we want to change and we want to so radically change our life, so sometimes it seems so monumental. And I always say there's three key factors: the right vehicle, the right time, the right you. And what's beautiful about the example you give, and if I go back to Jane Elo is this mentorship, the idea that in this profession, there's somebody sitting there like yourself who's willing to link arms and to help coach and train and mentor. So until you get whatever that thing is you want, and then beyond that, you're going to see a whole new horizon. So everyone, just imagine, just those little tiny incremental steps can make the absolute difference. So Jessica, thank you so much again for your wonderful contribution today.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor to be on this call. Thank you.